gorgeous, I'm the Fairy Voice Mother, and today I'm going to be reacting to NF Hope. At the time of filming this today, this song's been out for 2 weeks and reached 11 million views in that time. What's more is that this request has come up a lot after I analysed High Ren. It's so hard to put that masterpiece in a genre box, but apparently this song is in that box. I'm just so eager for more of whatever that is. We're in this completely together for the first time, so that's always exciting.
Hope. Yeah, I'm on my way, I'm coming. Don't lose faith in me. I know you've been waiting. I know you've been praying for my soul. Oh. 30 years you've been dragging your feet, telling me I'm the reason we're stagnant.
Okay.
30 years you've been claiming you're honest and promising progress. Well, where is it at?
So at the beginning, occupying the lower frequencies, we have a lovely minor chord in the piano. Melancholy and a bit of a stoicism, clinging on from a place of sadness. But that's not all we have, is it? On top, really ominous, eerie string part. So this technique in music theory is called dissonance, and the word dissonance basically means the opposite of harmony. Harmony, you've heard this kind of sound all the time. It's very conventional, it's very pleasing to our little ear holes, this kind of. It's got lovely space between it so the notes can resonate properly. But when we get dissonance, they're right together. And so what happens is those frequencies clash.
And it makes us feel very on edge.
Now, when we hear this note on its own, we think we're just hearing ba, but we're not. Also within that is, they just naturally live inside that note. That's what that note is it's kind of like a combination of this little overtone series embedded in one little note. And so us humans can only hear so high, right? So if we do it in this order, harmony down here, where lots of overtones are gonna be heard by us, and dissonance up here, although there are overtones also in this dissonance, it still follows those same harmonic rules. All of those other notes are still inside there, but we can't hear them as well as we can hear the lower ones. And you don't need to take my word for it, because check it out. If I put that dissonance down here, but the harmony up here, any sense of melancholy is greatly overrun with a sense of just stop.
Stop it. Get some help.
This combination of harmony plus dissonance in the same section is only cool because of how he's arranged it in terms of low notes and high notes, what they're doing respectively. And those dissonant violin notes are also crescendoing. Can you put ing on the end of crescendo? You can now. And every time we hear a crescendo, whether it's with dissonance or harmony or just one note, we get this kind of sense of gasp. It builds tension. It builds tension. This vocal performance on top of it, this constant kind of mantra of hope. Quite a fragile vocal production. It's delicate, as if he was praying, you know. Also, his vocal tone remains the same in this section, despite that crescendo becoming like completely overwhelming, which is cool. Is it strange that my first thought seeing him there in those logs was that he looks like a little mini egg in a nest? I don't know. Maybe he wanted to give the viewer the first impression that he was like an egg and it's like a new life. Okay, I'm making the word count.
30 years you've been claiming you're honest and promising progress. Well, where is it at? I don't want you to feel like a failure. I know this hurts. but I gave you your chance to deliver. Now it's my turn. Don't get me wrong. Nature had a great run, but it's time to give the people something different. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my album. My album. Hope.
Oh, wow.
What's my definition of success?
Okay, so there's so much to love about this little section. Everything changes without much changing. Oh, it's so crazy. So after that kind of lamenty situation, we're going to a staccato pattern. So we've got in the first half, and that's just very basic, very just beige, just spaced out harmonic notes, okay? And then in the second half, we get... Oh, don't you just love it? It's so cool for so many reasons, like at least 3. So the first coolest reason is that only works because it's staccato. Imagine if it was more of a tenuto, which means like held. That is arguably too sinister. And it doesn't have any place here. We need that little bit of dissonance. He needs to continue those themes, but he can't go to... And so the second coolest thing is that we mentioned Ren earlier. Now in his song, the little hook section, he uses a really similar technique. Half of the hook was plain, and then the other half of it was, wow, dissonant notes close together. That seems to be a prominent feature of this new genre. Harmony and dissonance constantly throughout in creative ways, underpinning this poetic story. It creates such an ambience with such stark instrumentation, a few piano notes and a voice. Really interesting choice in the vocal production, as in like post-production. His singing voice is lovely, the tone is very nice, I really like it. But what they're doing in the post-production in terms of what effects they're putting on.
But I gave you your chance to deliver.
Is the first half of the line, but I gave you your chance to... Hear how in that little section there was absolutely no reverb. On the end of the word like deliver,
but I gave you your chance to deliver.
There's a lot of echo on the end of it. To deliver. That was my manual echo effect. Needs a bit of work. Dichotomies everywhere. There's a few different ways you can interpret that my album thing. I think because the vocal delivery is so strong, he's intending just to make a real big stamp. He's finally got the courage at this very point in the song and henceforth to state what he's doing with pride.
Listening to what your heart says. Standing up for what you know is right while everybody else is. Tucking their toe between their legs. What's my definition of success? Creating something no one else can. Being brave enough to dream big. Grinding when you're told to just quit. Giving more when you got nothing left. It's a person that'll take a chance on something they were told could never happen. It's a person that can see the bright side through the dark times when there ain't one. It's when someone who ain't never had nothing ain't afraid to walk away from more perfect, cause they rather do something that they really love and take the pay cut. It's a person that would never waver or change who they are just to try and gain some credibility so they can feel accepted by a stranger. It's a person that can take the failures in their life and turn them into motivation.
I just think the lyrics alone, even if I were to read them on a screen, to be honest, would be enough to give me chills. Standing up for what you know is right while everybody else is tucking their tail between their legs. And his concept of passion over profit, I love it so much, and I think it is a really important message now. Specifically because of like the whole social media thing, we always have to look like we're being successful all the time. And there's obvious bloody problems with that, because at all times of your life, you cannot possibly be successful. And I think a lot of successful people would probably say this. They haven't been successful every day since they were born. Like, the only reason you get significant success at some point is because it's at some point of this roller coaster of life, you know, it goes up and down for everyone. And so when we're so obsessed and desperate for people to accept us, we make these bad decisions that we know intuitively are not right, because we think that that success is gonna make up for it when it comes. To say, even after you've achieved all of these accolades and your big deal McNeil at the top, what do you want your life to look like? Well, you'd probably want to be happy every day and do things you enjoy. If you choose to do what you enjoy, the attractiveness of potential accolades is not attractive enough for you to compromise daily joy, I guess. And I mean, more to the point, 11 million views in 2 weeks is pretty bloody successful, if you ask me. So there you go. These days, I think people are starting to wise up to things. I am so encouraged to see people's genuine, authentic self-expression being also commercially successful, because I think it's really gonna turn a page in a lot of people's perspectives.
It's a person that can see the bright side through the dark times when there ain't one. It's when someone who ain't never had nothing ain't afraid to walk away from.
He's a bloody good rapper, really good phrasing. It's when someone who ain't never had nothing ain't afraid to walk away from. Notice that every time he leans on the rhythm, da 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 da, kind of that like tenuto effect that we were talking about earlier, it's the same open vowel. Had, afraid, away. That is so important. So we can call these near rhymes. If everything rhymes exactly, it sounds really stale because you can hear the person trying to make it rhyme. Like if I was to say, I love you in every way, I want to see you every day. That is not moving anyone. You know? At the same time, we can't completely ignore the value of some kind of familiarity between vowel sounds and stuff like that, because it really impacts the sonic texture. So it takes a lot of skill and wordsmithery.
It's a person that can take the fears in their life and turn them into motivation. It's believing in yourself when no one else does. It's amazing what a little bit of faith can do. If you don't even believe in you, why would you think or expect anybody else that's around you to? I done did things that I regret. I done said things I can't take back. Was a lost soul at a crossroad who had no hope, but I changed that. I spent years of my life holding on to things I never should have kept, full of hatred.
This is the most amazing music video, oh my gosh. So his demon, very casually dressed, but you can tell it's a demon because he just looks hooded and generally demonic, giving him all of these little directions and enthusiasm, like go over there and here's a map, and then it leads you back around in a circle. That is such a brilliant visual representation of someone constantly doing something to please someone else, because that's what he's doing very literally, is what someone else told him to do and he didn't ask any questions. I think it must be when we're experiencing times of low self-esteem, we just believe that because we're such pieces of that anyone else's guidance and opinion is surely better than our own. But that is fake news. You are always smart enough and connected enough to know what's best for you. Sometimes life is scary and big, but that's okay.
Was a lost soul at a crossroad who had no hope, but I changed that. I spent years of my life holding on to things I never should have kept, full of hatred. Years of my life carrying a lot of baggage that I should have walked away from. Years of my life wishing I was someone different, looking for some validation. Years of my life trying to fill a void, pretending I was in. They get it.
Oh! Wow.
Necessary evil, difficult to go through, yes, but beneficial. Some would say having a mental breakdown is a negative thing, which on one hand I agree, but on the other hand it was the push I needed to get help and start the healing process. See, if I'd never hit rock bottom, would I be the person that I am today? I don't believe so. I'm a prime example of what happens when you choose to not accept defeat and face your demons. Took me 30 years to realize that if you want to get the opportunity to be the greatest version of yourself, sometimes knows you gotta be someone you're not to hear the voice of reason. Having kids will make you really take a step back and look in the mirror. At least for me, that's what it did.
In this section, we really get the sense of progress in all facets of this artwork. So in the music video, we go from being absolutely rock bottom, where the darkness, the little demon, pushes him while he least expects it and forces him into a new realm. In that realm, we get this kind of eerie ghost voice. And then the quest begins. That's when the drums kick in and he's exploring, he's looking at different options about where he wants his life to go. Who does he want to rely on? Well, he doesn't want to rely on the room with all the balloons and demons, because balloons are evil enough. I hate balloons. I think it's a phobia. Take me anywhere else. And then the other room, I don't know what that could be. Maybe it's a depiction of what his future would look like if he does stay, you know, following everyone else's opinions, locked in a cage. One of the coolest things about this as well is we've still got those same components that we had at the beginning. We've got the dissonance in the strings.
It took me 30 years to realize that if you want to get the opportunity to be the greatest.
They're produced very differently to match with this kind of like hip hop beat underneath. He's finally got rhythm and drive, and drums in that's so hard to say. Drums in general are very impactful for a very specific reason of we have a beat in us all the time that's always beating. So an external beat can kind of sink in with our inner beat, and that's why we can feel beats and grooves so deeply, whereas melodies is slightly more up here. We usually feel beats more in the body.
Will make you really take a step back and look in the mirror. At least for me, that's what it did. Wake up every day and pick my son up, hold him in my arms and let him know he's loved. Standing by the window, questioning if that is ever going to show up. Isn't something he's gonna have to worry about. Don't get it twisted, that was in the shot. Mama, I forgive you, I just don't want him to grow up thinking that he'll never be enough. 30 years of running, 30 years of searching, 30 years of hurting, 30 years of pain, 30 years of fearful, 30 years of anger, 30 years of empty, 30 years of shame, 30 years of broken, 30 years of anguish, 30 years of hopeless, 30 years of hey, 30 years of never, 30 years of maybe, 30 years of later, 30 years of fate, 30 years of hollow, 30 years of sorrow, 30 years of darkness, 30 years of 30 years of baggage, 30 years of sadness, 30 years of stagnant, 30 years of change, 30 years of patience, 30 years of suffering, 30 years of torment, 30 years of 30 years of bitter, 30 years of lonely, 30 years of pushing everyone away. You'll never revolve. I know I can change. We are not enough. We are not the same. You don't have the heart. You don't have the strength. You don't have the will. You don't have the faith. You'll never be loved. You'll never be safe. Might as well give up. Not running away. You don't have the guts. You're the one afraid. I'm the one in charge. I'm taking the reins.
Wow! Amazing. Wow! Oh, f***ing hell. That was extraordinary. Oh, crikey. I'm so happy that music like this is being made. Oh, this is so cool! We're evolving! This is it. This is proof. Look at us talking about our feelings, humans. We're doing it. We're being brave. We're not following conventional structures. We're not simplifying things. We're not obsessed with making things catchy. We don't have to pretend that we're not vulnerable and that everything's easy. He's doing exactly what he set out to do, judging by the lyrics anyway, which is to make something that's different to everything else. I mean, of course, we're hearing influences of Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, but there's so many facets to this that make it wildly original.
Standing by the window, questioning if that is ever going to show up.
This section lyrically impacted me a great deal, because sometimes when we have these experiences as children or whatever, we just think, just shut up and get on with it because it's sad, but no one cares or whatever. But actually, when you hear that a lot of people have been through the exact same thing as you, it just makes it seem a little bit more dealable. And especially to watch someone reflect on something dark in such a I'm putting it behind me way, it's like, oh yeah, I can do that. So another really wonderful comparison between this piece and High Ren is this section with the two different voices. The old him, the person that said you're not strong enough, and then immediately after, the person that says he is strong enough.
It's a battle with the subconscious. Eminem did it. Played on guitar. Plan B did it. Man, you're not original.
You'll never revolve. I know I can change. We are not enough. We are not the same. You don't have the heart. You don't have the strength. You don't have the will. You don't have the faith.
What he's been through before, so his past and his present, sort of having a conversation, and that is just glorious. And again, we've got that demon depicted as part of him in the end. Whereas before it was like a full-on whole thing, another version of himself. It's like a little trace of that version exists, but like, don't worry, I'm gonna keep him down. And another super cool thing is we still had dissonance building up to that section, but when it really came down to it and he was having that conversation between the demon and him, no dissonance.
It's 30 years of hate, 30 years of never, 30 years of maybe, 30 years of later, 30 years of fate, 30 years of hollow, 30 years of sorrow, 30 years of darkness, 30 years of hate, 30 years of babies, 30 years of sadness, 30 years.
Just epic fullness and harmony and triumph, and that is the best way to end this song, I think, with no doubt. Oh, it was so cool. I'm really, really happy I heard this. I think people making things like this are fabulous role models because you look at them in both ways. You're not just obsessed with them because they're so beautiful, they're so amazing, and you're just a piece of while they're being great. You're also part of them. You can relate to them. And so that's a very healthy thing to look up to. Brilliant in every bloody way possible. Let's read our oracle card, shall we, fairy folk? Today we have, oh my goodness, this is very ominous. But stay with me. It reads, can you accept an ending? Grief, loss, change, big life lessons arise when a new game comes into play. Always evolve onwards and take it to the next level. That's so special. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed making it. If there are any songs or singers you would like to see me react to, I guess if it's a singer, it's gonna be a song, so that was redundant. Please do let me know down below in the comments, as it is always my pleasure. I love you so much. Have a wonderful day, and I cannot wait to see you again in the next video. Mwah. Bye. Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick Lamar Duckworth is an American rapper and songwriter. Known for his progressive musical styles and socially conscious songwriting, he is often considered one of the most influential hip-hop artists of his generation. Do you want me to keep reading?
I suppose you're doing a better job than me. More efficient and less emotional.